Now, if you're one of the 3 people who still actually reads books in 2018, you probably decided like a long time ago whether or not you want to buy a Kindle. But even if you're not one of those people, I think it can become a great decision to even consider buying a Kindle, especially if you're someone who actually wants to start reading books. I want to approach this video from a different angle than a lot of other people because most of the reviews for the Kindles that I see online, they come from people who are already avid readers and not from people who were not really into reading but then want to start reading. For a lot of people, it can become really difficult to start reading because the internet is kind of not even an addiction, it's kind of a lifestyle, and your patience because of it is pretty low. So if you don't have something that makes it like really easy to start reading, it can become very easy to just not read at all. So one of the benefits with the Kindle for me is that for most people, if they're not really in the mood to read and they're not someone who's already reading a lot anyway, they'll go to bed, and if they don't have something that makes it really just kind of convenient to read, they're just going to decide not to read that night. And the next night, because they didn't the night before, they're probably not going to read again. And this just keeps going and going and going until they've read 0 books, even though they've kind of wanted to, like, for a long time, too. When you're deciding to read, it's got to be easier with things like practical applications. So if I'm on a flight and I have a bag and I have a big book, then it kind of becomes difficult to read if you're not someone who's really actually bringing the book with them. Because obviously you don't have a book with you to read. So a Kindle is very small, and they become very helpful in situations like that. So if you're at lunch at work or school, or you're on the bus, or you're on a flight, if it's just something you can just toss in your bag without really thinking about it, you're more likely to read that way. Now, some of the features of the Kindle that make it especially easy to start reading, especially for me, is the fact that I can just be laying in bed with all the lights off and I can just be reading from my Kindle. And it has this very nice e-ink display, which makes it extremely easy on the eyes. Now, you're also probably thinking, why don't I just read on my phone, or why don't I read on my iPad? Now, that's probably a really good question because then you don't have to really spend. You can buy Kindle books from Amazon and send it directly to your phone or iPad and just read it from there. But for me, it's not good enough. It's because when you have a dedicated reading device, it's also very nice because you don't really have to worry about getting sucked into a YouTube video or Netflix or anything like that. All you kind of really need to do is kind of look at them side by side, and you'll just see that the Kindle is just so much more convenient than the book. Now, I do want to say that a lot of people, and me included, they kind of like the feeling of actually being able to hold the book and kind of like smell it in a way when they get it. People like that new book smell. But when you're not someone who's reading a lot already, I mean, a lot of the times reading can just become a chore. And when you get a device that makes it much easier, it kind of becomes a novelty at first. And because you're excited that you've bought this device, it becomes really nice because what's the purpose of the device? It's to read. Now, what about the price? Is the price of the Kindle worth it? There are many different Kindle options. There's the base Kindle, which is $79. Then there's the Kindle Paperwhite, which is $119. The Voyager comes in at $200, and then the Oasis is even more expensive than that. Is it really worth that price? Well, it's not as true as it was before. Kindle books are actually a lot of the times cheaper than an actual book. Now, if you kind of average it out and calculate it, you're going to have to read quite a bit of books to make up for what you bought. But for me, just the fact that you can take someone who wasn't reading before and make them start reading because of it and actually enjoy reading and get all this new information that you're getting from reading for the first time. And I mean, for some people, they haven't read in since their school years. Other people, they go through intermittent stages, kind of like what I do. There'll be times where I'll read a lot and then times that I don't. But most of the time, when I do start reading a lot, more frequently than before, it's because of this device that makes that possible. because it's so easy and I can just pull it out at any time. For me, it's worth it in that way.